So, hello, fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728 and cardboard bikes. There was, I just Googled it a little while ago, and I can't believe it's been so long since I first saw, I think it was a TED Talk, or I don't know exactly what it was, but basically it was an Israeli guy who said he had made a bike out of cardboard. And it looked like a pretty decent looking bike. I guess he lacquered it, did all this stuff, and it was supposed to be coming out. It's going to revolutionize the world. People all over the world are going to be able to get this bike for 20 US or something like that. And I was like, whoa, this is amazing. It is a cheap bike. Might not last very long, even though it was supposed to be waterproof. Um, I think there was an image of him putting it in water. Um, he had said that people kept telling him that it couldn't be done, so he tried and he tried, and he eventually made the bike. And like I said, he's a stocky guy, and he rode the bike, didn't fall apart. He's been trying for years. And I think there was a fundraising effort to try to get the bike off the ground. And at some point, they canceled it and gave everybody their money back. And an investor came in with him, and they were going to go underground for a number of years in order to um, whack out the details of the company and the build process. And then the bike was going to be more expensive than 20 bucks, I think. And I put a reminder into Google to tell me so I could keep track of this stuff. And it went absolutely nowhere. I think at some point they must have decided they weren't going to do bikes anymore. I went to the Facebook page that they'd created. I went to the website that they'd created. Nothing was being updated there. And yeah, altogether frustrating. And I used to go to the TED Talk in my area a while ago, and you would see these stories about pretty inspiring um, occurrences, developments, things that people were working on that were supposed to change uh, the way that society worked, and people were using um, accessible programs to make AIs, an AI to detect cancer in people. I think one person in my area was using that. And of course, I've told a friend of mine he always gets excited about this stuff. I told him, listen, the devil is always in the details. But right now, there is no AI that is in use to detect any cancer. It's been a number of years since that happened. Um, the last thing that I saw, most recent thing that I saw from this cardboard bike thing was maybe 2019, if so recently. But the first story that I'm seeing came up in 2012. So this is 2021. It's almost 10 years later. Nothing. Not even like, hey, I couldn't do the bike myself, but if you want to do a bike, here's some instructions on how to do it. Just nothing. And of course, that same thing that I was saying, an AI that can be used to detect cancer better than a human can, nowhere. And if you think of all of those AIs that you heard of that did so many things better than a human being, where are they? Nowhere. I feel like almost ashamed. that I remember posting a story on Facebook saying that in a certain number of years, and as I'm talking about this was just really just supposed to be about the cardboard bikes and my disappointment with them and my disappointment with what happens with TED Talks altogether. I remember a TED Talk that was, again, somebody was coming out with a new dye, or they wanted to discover new dyes that would allow um, surgeons to be able to identify what was cancerous and what was not cancerous tissue very, very quickly. Right now, as it is, they take out a sample, they send that sample to be looked at under a microscope in order to decide whether or not the tissue is cancerous or not. Because when you cut somebody open and you're looking at tissue, you don't know. There's no nice line for you to decide. And I remember that was one of the most exciting TED Talks that I had seen. And I was like, wow, this is so great. And then there's the other TED Talk about the kid whose uncle had died of the same or similar cancer to what Steve Jobs died of. It was pancreatic cancer, and then this cancer is so hard to detect, and the kid was going to make a uh, cancer detection um, kit. It was supposed to be a piece of paper. Maybe you urinate on this, or you put it in blood or whatever, and it was supposed to say, "Bing, you've got cancer. You've got pancreatic cancer." And it was supposed to be all of these different things. And his story was so inspiring because, of course, his uncle had died. He wanted to prevent that from happening. And he had written to 100 labs asking them to allow him to come in and practice or to develop what he was working on. And all of them told him no except for one. And he went to this one lab and he worked on this thing, and he came out with something tangible. I mean, I don't think he showed it in the TED Talk, but he came out with a tangible result, and they were gonna go to test it, I guess, to see how effective it was gonna be. And you know where that is? That is nowhere. That is absolutely nowhere. There's no pancreatic test, pancreatic cancer test. And the reason why the other people told him no is because, number one, well, I think partly would have been because he had no experience in labs, is one. And then, of course, because they were saying that the method that he was using, it's not going to work. But he was using, was it nanotubules and just often, this is just a bigger version of where's my flying car, you know? But it was supposed to be with the nanotubules. These were supposed to be so good. And then there was supposed to be the open source AIs that you could use with training data, and you could make your own AIs for yourself, or, cardboard bikes. It was all supposed to be so exciting, and just TED Talks in general. I mean, there are some TED Talks I think of that they're inspiring to me still. I know there was one about basically trying to make people's wishes come true. And if you have a big enough audience and somebody could say, "This is my wish," you might find, surprisingly, some people who are able to make that wish come true with very, very minimal effort on their part. And to be realistic, that's probably unrealistic to assume that it happens very often. But the lady had some really nice stories of things that actually worked out. So eh, you know, but by and large, TED Talks now these days, I'm totally disillusioned with TED Talks. They are just another version of the stories that you see in magazines and newspapers that never go anywhere. Well, not never, just most of the time. Anyway, just wanted to share that. I'm not gonna get rid of my reminder to Google. I know that they have those alerts that you can send yourself, but I don't want to do that. I just want a reminder once a year to see if anything became of those cardboard bikes because my sister was involved with an organization that was helping people in Africa by making bikes accessible to them. So they can travel in between towns and villages and whatever else with, to get resources, to get medicine, to get food, to be able to sell their products, whatever, whatever. And it would be great if they could make bikes that weren't metal, that anybody could make. Or if the bikes were so cheap as to be virtually disposable, that would be great too. I don't think my sister is with that group anymore, but that's just one benefit that I see. That would be great. I mean, hmm. Anyway, thanks for listening. Peace.